our president about it, please, just take it that that would be a sentence before being charged. Don't forget, the Constitution provides you are innocent until proven guilty. It's as basic and simple as that. We believe and state to the public that the legislation on bail is sufficient.
The current legislation?
The current
We don't need any new laws?
It's not necessary. We have adequate laws which can cater for the situations. Uganda society is available to advise, guide, assist if they come and request us. And as I've earlier stated, somewhat they are not consulting us on this.
Really?
Yeah, see, what the President is saying is very important. Our listeners must understand, and the public must understand, specifically Article 28. Every person who is charged...
What the ULS President, not the Supreme President?
The Uganda Society President,
yes,
yeah.
Go on.
Every person who is charged with a criminal offense shall be presumed to be innocent until proved guilty.
Yes.
So the person is still innocent, presumed to be innocent.
Yes.
And he has that right of bail, of applying for bail.
Right.
Now, we have got to be very careful. What is the purpose of refusing that bail? Is it to change, to make him guilty? So what is the purpose of the requirement for that incarceration for the 6 months? As Mr. Sebugenyi has clearly said, it's an illegality as it is right now. It is against a national practice, and it is not in anybody's interest right now, at least for the lawyers.
And some of the sentences that are given out are a matter of weeks, months.
Exactly.
So you can get a sentence of 3 months, for instance.
But you've served 6 months.
So this is basically, would someone be right to call it detention without trial, Mr.?
The language would be changing, maybe detention pending trial, something
Detention
like that.
pending trial.
It would be a new innovation, at least in jurisprudence.
Well, in practice, we've had a law, detention without trial, under Obote 1.
And remember, you are taking all the powers of the court, because the court has a responsibility, a discretion of when to grant bail. And it actually uses it quite often. It refuses people bail on its own motion.
Yes.
It has ground. If it is not satisfied, the type of offense and many other factors, you have not enough sureties, they have conditions. So the power of the court to determine bail is now being taken away by having a mandatory remand.
And this is what we are talking about, rule of law.
Yes.
Rule of law gives the power to interpret the laws to the judiciary.
Right.
Under our constitution, the judiciary has the powers and the discretion to decide such matters.
Yes.
Why promulgate to deny a constitutional right?
So basically they're infringing on the powers of the judiciary. That's
Exactly.
what it would look like.
And it contravenes the rule of law. And that's why we say, if you're passing legislation against anybody with white hair, that legislation is bad law. And that's what this proposal is all about.
What do you mean white hair?
You are targeting people, particular citizens,
yes,
of a particular make, of a particular dispensation, of a particular view. That's why you are even singling out the particular offenses. That's why I use the word. If a legislation is targeting people with white hair,
yes,
it is not a good law. And that's the category this particular proposal falls in.
And what are some of the parameters for abuse? Are seizing the villages, detaining people at the whim?
One of the possible abuses, let me go back to the police and the CID officers and our colleagues, the public. If I have a vendetta against you, all I need to do is to go to the police and I make sure that the charge being brought against you is in respect to those offenses where you will be incarcerated for 6 months.
Right.
Imagine you have a mortgage to pay with Standard Chartered Bank or any other bank. 6 months, you're going to default because you're going to lose your job. Do you see the snowball effect of this? So at the end of the day, if somebody is malicious and you're locked up for 6 months, your family, your job, your life will go down the drains. Assuming after 6 months you're released, you are innocent, who will you go after? The most you can do is sue for malicious prosecution. But will that bring back your life? The destruction it will cause to the citizenry of this country. So that's why we say, please move with caution. There are other laws, there are other provisions under our laws which can cater for some of this. Come to us, members of the government, come to us, we shall advise you.
In the
free legal services. We provide pro bono, we provide legal aid. On this one, we are willing to advise you free of charge.
On the 6 months bail.
On the bail proposal.
And you say it can be abused anyway in the villages.
I've given you the example.
A simple OC in
a simple
OC pit.
Exactly.
Takes you out of circulation for 6 months.
6 months.
Even without substantive. Let's talk about these constitutional rights and freedoms in post-election Uganda. What are you going to be looking at? That's the theme for your seminar.
Yes, constitutional rights and freedoms in post-election Uganda. We are looking at this as the theme for this particular year because we all know that there have been challenges with regards to the rights and freedoms as prescribed by the Constitution of Uganda. And this has happened between the elections and now. So we're trying to remind Ugandans that it is important for all of us to abide by the rule of law. We know that the President himself has said that the rule of law is more important than any political system or affiliation. Those are his words at the second rule of law day. He was our guest speaker
last week.
I'm quoting him verbatim.
The previous year.
In 2009.
Yes.
And that's what he said.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yes.
So we are reminding everybody, the government, the public, everybody in the sector, that without rule of law, then all the other aspects will crumble.
Right.
Economic problems will come up. People taking the law into their hands.
Yes.
And getting their own mob justice, as we call it. These are some of the things we're trying to remind you about with this rule of law day. One of the things is the Mambas attacking the High Court.
Yes.
Is the genesis of the rule of law. If you remember those scenes on the media, and you've seen what has been happening after the elections,
yes.
Those pictures which have been shown on the media, those pictures which depict the situation and the state of affairs in Uganda, that's our mandate as Uganda Law Society, to remind you that we don't want that to be the state of affairs being reflected about Uganda.
Well, some people will say you're being unfair. This, of course, it looked like a movie, something out of James Bond when they invaded the High Court the other time. But some people will say 6 years ago, they've changed their mind, they've repented, they're now good men and women in government.
Would I say that
what happened again after 6 years?
Well, it's like a soap opera.
Yeah.
You always come up with a new theme.
Right.
This time round,
it's on the streets.
On the street. Battles. You remember the Lord Mayor mentioned that they are dressed like astronauts?
Yes.
But we're not trying to trivialize this. This is a very serious item.
Right.
What we're trying to say is that every other time you see a reinvention of worse activities which depict a bad picture and which depict non-compliance with the rule of law.
So you're saying the spirit is the same, nothing has changed, the form has changed.
Our duty is to remind that if you go down that road, this country will go into bad times.
No, but
that's
people will say, if police allows the demonstrators, there's going to be chaos.
By the way, I agree with that school of thought. If you are going to allow demonstrators who are not willing to comply with the basic requirements of demonstration, because demonstration is not an absolute right.
Yes.
You have to do it within certain parameters.
Yes.
That's why we are asking the government. They've been shelving this public management order bill.
Yes.
We, as Uganda Law Society, have been reminding them that come up with this public order and management order bill. The law.
Yes.
So that then everybody, that's what rule of law is all about. Then the parameters under which all the players are operating in are clear. But this is something which has been shelved for a long time. But I'm aware, and I know, and I've been briefed as the President of Uganda Law Society. I've participated. I know that bill, as the Honorable Minister of Internal Affairs has mentioned in public, that bill is now in cabinet, and I think it is being expedited. Hopefully, it will not take another 1 year.
What is in it, briefly?
Basically, it has some challenges. But what it is trying to establish is a governing policy with regards to public order and matters pertaining to management of things like demonstrations,
yes,
rallies, and all things like that. But there are some challenges in that bill also. We have made recommendations about them. one of the challenges which I could mention, that it seeks to reintroduce the provisions of the Police Act, which were nullified by the Constitutional Court in the case of Mwanga Kivumbi versus the Attorney General of Uganda.
Right.
And here I'm quoting page 23 of the Justice Law and Order Bulletin.
Right. Yes.
Okay. So those are some of the challenges.
They're trying to bring back a law that was nullified by the court.
And this is a critique of the Public Order Management Bill 209.
Right.
You know, those are some of the things which are being raised.
Okay.
So we are saying that yes, it is important to come up with this bill, but yes, it is also important that it comes out when it is a good bill.
Okay.
But these are some of the things where rule of law always comes in.
All right.
That's why we say do everything which will bring law and order.
Right.
And one of it is making the right laws.
Okay. We'll talk about that in a short while. But first of all, let's talk about oil right now. Mr. Nkuzingoma, the right to information, the oil debate. Parliament cannot get these contracts. What's the position of Uganda Law Society?
I think Mr. President will address that. The position of Uganda Law
Parliament
Society
wants to see the contracts, and they can't see them because there's a clause that says they're secret. Is confidentiality. Why is the left hand not showing what the right hand what it's doing?
Well, there are two schools of thought here, and I will be cautious about commenting about this particular matter because now it has gone to court. I don't know whether you're aware.
Go on.
It has gone to court because there's a matter in the Nakawa High Court, which is seeking declarations and orders with regards to whether those agreements can be provided to the public under the law with regards to Access to Information Act. So, as lawyers, there is this principle called sub judice.
Yes. So
that is one aspect about it. But there is the other aspect under Article 244, whereby this oil is a national resource.
Yes.
So there is a school of thought which is saying, but this is public property, and the Parliament is supposed to legislate on this asset.
Yes.
And that's what Article 244 talks about.
Right.
And Article 146 also talks about the powers of Parliament with regards to this particular aspect. So, if you're not going to allow that arm of government, which is protecting this asset, to have access to some of these things, those are some of the challenges. Like they will tell you, if there is one lawyer in a town, he will die of poverty. But if there are two, they will strive. So that's the reason. There are so many divergent opinions on this item about the confidentiality issue.
But it seems the court ruled in favor of government.
The court ruling in the Nakawa court?
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not very sure. By the time I walked in here, I did not know. What I knew, that the matter was in court.
It's still in court.
Yeah, but if the court has decided, I will get to know about it and I will give you a commentary later.
So you don't think government, but should government have signed this contract in the first place?
Signing the contract is not the issue.
Well, with a confidentiality clause.
We normally, as lawyers, those confidentiality clauses are...
You normally have them?
Are legal.
So for
you can put a confidentiality clause.
So Parliament should really get its hands on this matter. Well,
no, it shouldn't really get its hands. It's all about what is being protected. What is the aspect of the confidentiality? What is it? You see, we are talking about generalities sometimes here. What is it that is being refused? Is it the entire agreement, or is it aspects of that agreement? That's something we must go to.
The entire agreement. It's in 9 booklets, bound in 9 booklets in the different sections.
But there will be, I hope there will be a time for the Parliament to debate that matter, I'm sure, because they have done the petitions and many other things.
All right, let's hear from the listeners. This is Spectrum on Radio 1. Tonight, the rule of law in post-election Uganda. What is the latest position of the Uganda Law Society about key issues that have been emerging? You can call in now. Our numbers 0414-348-111, 0312-260-390, 0312-261-390. When you call in, please tell us your name and where you are calling from. So at this symposium, you said, give us a little bit more detail about the symposium.
Yes, thank you. The symposium, like we've stated, will be...
Let's hear from first listener. Spectrum, hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir, your name?
Hello?
You're live on Spectrum. Your name, sir?
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you. Your name?
Yeah, my name is Maharwe.
Yes.
I want those gentlemen, I heard one of them saying that they are going to take the president to court, to get the constitutional court to get some declaration. As far as I know, there is provisions in the constitution which protects the sitting president from being taken to court. So how are they going to take the president to court when the president cannot be subject of court process?
All right. To be responded to. Spectrum, hello? Hello?
No?
Yes, sir, your name?
Good evening.
Good evening to you.
My name is Owere.
Yes.
Is that the president of the Law Society?
Yes, we have the president of the Law Society and a former president as well. Hello?
Yeah, one thing, I want to commend their work.
We can hardly hear you, Mr. Owere.
Hello?
We can hardly hear you. Can you speak out louder?
Yeah, what I'm saying, I commend the work of the Law Society in this country and fighting for the rights of everybody. But I only have, I'm requesting the president of the Law Society. We as workers will have a problem, especially with the lawyers. Some of them are helping the employers to violate the rights of the workers, especially on the rights of association. When workers voluntarily accept to join unions, then lawyers write and deter unions from going to the workplace, which I think is contrary to the law. And I want actually to request the president of the Law Society. We'll have one-to-one with you, and then we'll discuss that issue.
All right. Spectrum.
Edmond.
Yes, your name?
I'm Edmond going from Kingsford. Thank you for the case. Mine is going to be very simple. I want to challenge those lawyers that if you look at the background of our people, the perception, some of them are illiterate. They don't observe law. And even you look at our enforcement officers, they use the opportunity of the ignorance of the law then to manipulate the society. And another issue where you say that you are against that bill, when the president says that the guys should be denied that bail. Actually, if you put it into consideration, we have culprits, real culprits, who are ready to kill, to do everything. So to me, as AM, I recommend those safe houses as long as those guys are brought to court. But very important when you say that you just leave them because of the rule of law. And finally, you lawyers, you also turn sides. When you have interest, you may even manipulate the law for on your sake. So okay. How can you comment on that? Thank you.
Spectrum, okay, let's get the responses. Mr.
Yeah. Let me respond on the court action, the threatened or intended court action. I apologize if I mentioned the president's name, that we shall take the president to court. What I meant is we will take the government, and when you take government to court, you're taking the Attorney General. If we create an impression that we are taking the president personally to court, that is not right. We will take the Attorney General to court.
Right, go on.
Then the second one is the lawyers and the workers' unions. Yes, please. Our offices are at Acacia Avenue in Kololo. Please come and we talk about this issue of lawyers and the unions and the threats and infringing the rights of the workers. We would be the last people to infringe the rights of the citizens of this country. Lastly, on the aspect of...
okay, let's take another caller. Spectrum, hello?
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Your name?
Dickens is my name.
Yes.
Actually, I want to challenge Mr. Sebugenyi regarding what Mr. Were has talked about. And you should not lie to the public that you, the lawyers, I'm a lawyer, that you are the last person to infringe on the rights of the what? Of the workers. At Legal Aid Project, you are Uganda Law Society there at the headquarters. Staff are crying. You dismiss without giving people the chance to be heard. You dismiss without, you just employ anyhow, you just dismiss anyhow, and then you wonder, you people who come on, and then you start defending the rights, which you don't respect at your own particular places of work. So you need to be clear to the public. If you preach this, you should practice it.
All right. Spectrum, hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir, your name?
I salute you in the name of Almighty Allah. This is none other than Sebugenyi from Campaign North Constituency. I salute also the vis-a-vis in the radio on studio. But I think they are too early to take the president in court, and I'm supporting them respectively. May God be with you. This is Sebugenyi from Kawempe.
One final caller, Spectrum Malo.
Hello.
Yes, sir, your name?
Good evening, presenters.
Good evening to you, your name?
Good evening.
Yes, my name is Severino, and I'm an advocate. First thing, I'm disappointed by the submission made by Mr. Kagauda. We cannot simply go on the radio and begin making a generalization. I think that, with due respect, that's not correct. Then secondly, I would like to appreciate the submission made by the land ERS president. Particularly, it was good that you pointed out that the Judicial Service Commission deserves to be appointed. Of course, as you rightly point out, it is very difficult to have a proper functioning judiciary without the Judicial Service Commission in place. I hope that the authorities have heard, and given the fact that you have even raised it before, they should act very fast. Otherwise, I would like to appreciate the good work that you are doing, and particularly for coming to reiterate the principles of the rule of law for the benefit of the people of Uganda. I am personally satisfied that Uganda Law Society is doing a commendable job, and that you should keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Back to the studio, Mr. President.
Yes, there's that aspect about intelligence officers in the CID having to be intelligent. I totally agree, and the Minister of Justice did mention this at one of the forums we had, that an intelligence officer should be intelligent. The aspect of us at Uganda Law Society not practicing what we are preaching, I noticed our colleague was quite annoyed and quite infuriated and quite emotional. Kindly, I didn't get your name, but I'm your president, and I kindly request you to come to the Uganda Law Society offices, and I would like to hear the details of this particular item you're bringing up. If it is happening during my term of office, I will redress it, but I am not aware of what you're talking about. Kindly come to me, I will address it. I'm approachable. The other aspect is Dickens, thank you very much for that comment. It's people like you who make us enjoy volunteering to serve, because it's not easy. Thank you.
There was an earlier caller whom had mentioned about perceptions and literacy and culprits.
Yes.
He has a point, but we've got to correct him. He thinks the solution is to maintain safe houses and to keep people on long remands. But I think we've got to correct his impression. That's not rule of law. Our constitution right now is about a right to a fair hearing. So we cannot deny people a right to be heard. So I think I've got to get it correctly. Do not think that because if you have safe houses, then you are in an era of lack of rule of law. We cannot support safe houses and detaining people for wrong purposes. That is dodging the issue. We would like to ensure that there is a free public hearing. Courts are functional. Courts have jurisdiction to try cases freely and speedily. The phrases which the Constitution uses is impartiality, fair, speedy, and public hearings. We cannot now go backwards. So we think our caller has. We are aware people are illiterate, but the fact that people are illiterate doesn't mean they must be punished. No, we must enhance our education. We must try to make sure that people are aware of their rights. So let us not hide behind the specter of illiteracy and the perceptions of people. If we have wrong perceptions, our duty is to correct those perceptions and show them what the law is all about. And that's why the Law Society is having this Law Day, the symposium, discuss, make it public, for people to ask questions, and many other. There will be many activities, I'm sure, by the Law Society to continue helping people to understand their rights under the laws.
Well, but he said some of these are culprits. He has looked at them, he's concluded they are culprits. Why do you let them off free?
You see, he's making a judgment. I didn't want to. He's making a judgment. It's a constitutional right, and there is an impartial court which will declare them as culprits. After a due process. It's a very long process. The perceptions are that people think somebody has done something wrong.
Yes.
Okay? You're entitled to your opinion. But there is a process that will declare you wrong. And that process is called the court procedure. And under the rules of law, under the rules of procedure, the right to fair hearing, speedy trial, witnesses, and all that. So he's not entitled to declare a person a culprit. Let him go slow.
Even though he knows him as his neighbor.
Until a due process has gone through.
Are safe houses legal?
They are illegal.
They are illegal?
Yes.
So government should not have safe houses?
No.
If they operate them, would you put them on notice? Talk to them now. Tell them to close them.
We can't tell them to close them.
Well, they're breaking the law.
Because one of the situations we've actually got to understand is that the prisons currently are at a 200% capacity.
So these are overflow places.
These are overflow places.
All right.
We're not trying to say we condone it, but I think it is a capacity issue.
Should they not
that
be
is why government should be.
Should they not be gazetted as prisons?
That's one of the solutions. Gazette the safe houses.
Put a notice.
Yes, we know you have a problem of capacity in the prisons, but gazette them.
Right. So we know that in Chireka it's an extension of Luzira or whatever.
Exactly.
Well, thank you. We have to go right now. Thank you very much, Daddy. I guess Mr. James Mukasa Sebugenyi, President of the Uganda Law Society. Thank you for coming to Spectrum, sir. Mr. Nkuzingoma, Senior Practicing Advocate, also a former Senior Practicing Advocate, also a former President of the Uganda Law Society. Thank you for tuning in. I've been your host, Edmond Kizito. Spectrum will be back tomorrow. Up next is the news in English.
With me, I wanna